Hello, everybody. Hi, Linda. Hi, Terry. How are you guys? I hope you're doing well. It seems like forever since I was here last. Probably because it has been. Anyway, how are you guys? I hope you're doing well. Hope Tim is doing well also. Yeah, so I'm not going to be here for a long time tonight because, to tell you the truth, I've been in bed all day. I know. Hello, Peggy. Hi, Starla. Hi, Tori. Uh, you got a break in the rain? Hi, Marty. That's good. Yeah, apparently while we were gone, we missed a lot of crazy that went on around. Tornadoes and all kinds of craziness. And didn't do much. I mean, a bunch of limbs and stuff, are down here, but it didn't get our area. It did some other areas pretty severely, so it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. I need to rest more. Hi, Connie. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I would have to agree with that. Yeah, my body was, when you travel, it gets a little, your body gets messed up. I'll tell you all about the trip and stuff, but your body just gets messed up when you change time zones and all that kind of stuff. It just does. And so anyway, we'll talk about where I was. So it is Monday, and I haven't been here with you guys for, I guess, 2 weeks or over 2 weeks. I don't even remember the last time I was here. But it's so good to see you guys. It's good to be here. It's good to be back. I bought a great book while I was gone. I'm going to show you some of it and tell you a few little parts of it, read you a couple things, and I'm going to lower a window shade. Let me put that down because it's going to stream right in here on us. Otherwise, that sun comes right in, beating right in on us. Anyway, whoop. Okay. So, where I have been gone for the last couple of weeks, on the 19th of March, we left on a honeymoon. The funny thing about this honeymoon is that neither of us had done a honeymoon cruise before. I've only done 2 cruises in my life. One, years ago, we went to the Caribbean it was, I don't know, a short one, 4 or 5 days, I don't remember. Maybe a week, I don't really remember. It was back in the 80s. And then last year we went to Australia and New Zealand, and we took a cruise. That was a huge one because I'd never been out of the country of the United States other than to do that cruise to the Caribbean. So I had never been anyplace else. So that was really a huge thing for me to commit to. Took me a year to decide I would go. But I did. And it was wonderful. It really was. This one was easier in some ways because we stayed within the United States. And what we did is on the 19th of March, we flew. We had to be up, ready to go, ready to leave the house on the 19th of March. We had to be ready to leave the house at 2:30 in the morning. Okay, so I thought, well, poo on that. I can't. To try to get me up at 2:30 in the morning, a lot of times that's when I really wind down enough to go to bed, and so I thought I would just stay up. Well, about 1:15, I absolutely collapsed. Went to bed. We were ready to go. We were packed. Everything was ready. And 30 minutes after I crawled in bed, Elton woke up and said, "We need to get going because we need to stop by a such and such place before we go." And I was like, man, I just kind of drifted off to sleep, you know? Anyway, so we left here at just shortly after 2:30. We drove to the airport. Got to the airport where we were supposed to park, and the parking place that have reserved something had gotten screwed up in transit, and we didn't have the right piece of paper. And so then that meant we had to scramble because we had to be on the plane at 6:15 in the morning. And so we had to scramble to find another place to park, which we did, and it all worked out. But I'm telling you, stuff like that just, the stress load of that kind of stuff really gets to me. Because if you miss the plane, that sets off a whole thing of problems. Anyway, so we made the connection just fine. We flew to San Francisco. First of all, we flew to Denver, and then we had a brief layover in Denver, and then we flew to San Francisco. Got off the plane in San Francisco and met all the rest of the group we were traveling with. And then we got on, I think we got on a bus. Yeah, we did. We got on a bus and transferred to the port. Hi, Kathy. Same to you. We transferred to the port where, don't you know, San Francisco was dredging the port where the cruise ships come in. So they had to move us to a makeshift port. And so that meant that they weren't ready to handle the numbers of people. And so we stood in line for 2.5 hours. And a lot of people on this cruise were elderly, and I mean a lot more elderly than I am. We finally got onto the ship, but it's a process. So we were cruising on the Ruby Princess, and this was a cruise to Hawaii. And so this is our honeymoon. And so we got on the ship and got everything settled down, unpacked, finally you have to find your room first. Oh, thank you, Kathy. Yeah, I love these. I got them at the grocery store years ago. So anyway, we finally got unpacked and all that, and we were starving because we had not eaten in hours and hours and hours. The time had changed twice, and so we finally got some food and just relaxed a little bit and kind of figured out what was what. This was a much bigger cruise ship than we were on the last time, and I've only had 3 experiences cruising, and so this was very overwhelming to me because of the size of it, but it was nice. It was fun. And I kind of got my bearings about the time we got off the ship. Thank you, Kathy. And so we we cruised for 4 days. So we were at sea for 4 days, and then we went to the Hawaiian Islands, and so we were on Hilo, which is on Hawaii, the big island. We were there for a day, and then we cruised to Kauai. No, we went to Oahu next, which was where Honolulu is. We were there for a day. And then we went to Kauai, and then we went to Maui, and then we cruised for 5 days back and stopped in Mexico, because you have to stop in a foreign port. So we stopped there for a day, and then we cruised up the coast back to San Francisco, and then got disembarked from the plane or from the cruise ship, and finally found, got to the plane, and the coming back. There was some weather in Las Vegas. We had to fly through Las Vegas, and so there was weather that had caused problems, and so our flights were delayed, and so we got home at 6 o'clock a.m. on Saturday morning. So I don't really know what time it is, you guys. I really don't know. We changed times. It's interesting when you're cruising across the ocean. I didn't know this. I had no idea. But when you get on the ocean and you're going to go cruise over to Hawaii, the time changes. And so the way they do that is they have you change it an hour tonight, an hour tomorrow night. Then you get a night where it doesn't change, and then you have to change it again. So for a while you don't know what time you're on, but you're gaining time because you're setting your clocks back. That's not so bad. Coming the other direction, they do the same thing, but you're skipping hours. It's like that's a hard one where you don't really know. You really have no idea what the time is, and your mind is just like, whoo. Anyway, I had been to Hawaii before, so had Elton. But the interesting thing about our experiences going to Hawaii is this was my second honeymoon to Hawaii, because Clausman and I went to Hawaii. We got married when I was 19 and he was 29. We flew to Hawaii, so we were there for, I don't know, 5 or 6 days, maybe a week. I don't remember. It's been a long time ago. And then this time with Elton, it was a cruise. So I've been to Hawaii twice for 2 honeymoons. Actually, I've been one other time, but that wasn't a honeymoon. Elton has been married 3 times, and all 3 of his honeymoons have been to Hawaii. So in total, we celebrated our 5th, between us, our 5th honeymoon to Hawaii. Not everybody can say that. Anyway, it was a really nice cruise. We didn't do a lot. In fact, some of the time we didn't get off the ship because we were both really tired. And so we did a lot of just relaxing and reading and going to programs and stuff that were on the ship, and just enjoying a change of scenery, a change of temperature. We went from cold here to warm to cold, back to warm, back to cold. So it was crazy. I don't know, 5 honeymoons, right? Anyway, so as we were coming back, we were on a layover in, I think it was Las Vegas, where we were laid over for a little bit. And that's the only time I read a novel is when I travel. I prefer to read nonfiction and books that are educational for me, things I'm interested in. Those are the kinds of things I like to do. And but when I'm on vacation, I'll get a novel and read a novel. And most of the time I just pick out whatever strikes my fancy at the bookstore. So I did that. So true, Kathy. So true. And so I picked up a book that was called The Newcomer, I think was the name of it. Mary Kay Andrews was the author. It was nothing to really write home about, but, it was entertaining, and I read the whole thing, got it done on the ship, and then I left it in the library at the ship. So, I hadn't marked it or anything, so I just left it so somebody else could enjoy it. So in Las Vegas, as we were coming back, I said, I need to go get another book. And so actually I found 2 books, and this one I want to show you about because I think you all will be interested in this one. Or those of you who are interested in art and creativity, I think you'll be interested in this book. If any of you have read it, let me know. And if you haven't, what I've read so far, and let's see how much. It's not a whole lot I've read. I've read 10 pages. But I can highly recommend this so far. If you like the study of art and how it affects you, how it affects the body, mind, spirit. Sorry, you guys. Anyway, I think that you would enjoy this. And sorry, you remember that respiratory thing that I had before? Well, I got it again. There were a lot of people on this ship. A lot of people. It was like, I don't know if it was 4,000 or 6,000. I don't know. It was a lot of people in a confined space. And by the end of the whole thing, most people were coughing and carrying on. Hey, Dar. Anyway, so there may be a little hacking during this because talking nonstop does tend to irritate that. Anyway, let's look at this. So this is just the introduction. I'm going to read you just a little bit of it just to give you a flavor of the book, just in case you wanted, if you were interested in it. Okay? You know the transformative power of art. You've gotten lost in music, in a painting, in a movie or a play, and you felt something shift within you. You've read a book so compelling that you pressed it into the hands of a friend. You heard a song so moving you listened to it over and over, memorizing every word. The arts bring joy, inspiration, well-being, understanding, even salvation. And while these experiences may not be easy to explain, you have always known they are real and true. But we now have scientific proof that the arts are essential to our very survival. We know how art in its countless forms heals our bodies and minds. We've got the evidence. And this study of this is called neuroaesthetics or neuroarts, which any of you that have been hanging around online for a while are familiar probably with neurographic or neurographica. And so I found that particularly interesting because that was an art form that really got a hold of me for a while, and I really appreciated that. That they were actually doing some scientific studies about it. So just some other things I highlighted. The arts can be used to fundamentally change your day-to-day life. They can help address serious physical and mental health issues with remarkable results, and they can both help you learn and flourish. Now, any of you that have been watching me any time at all know how much this just lights me up to read stuff like this. And there is mounting evidence that the arts really do help us heal and thrive. Okay, well, if anybody doesn't want to heal and thrive, you know, if people go, no, I don't want to do that. Might be a little question to ask yourself, why? This one was interesting too. People use specific scents to relieve nausea, calibrate light sources to adjust energy levels, and use specific tones of sound to alleviate anxiety. Just 20 minutes of doodling. Okay, listen to this real carefully. Anybody that is listening or seeing this at any point in time, take this in. Just 20 minutes of doodling or humming can provide immediate support for your physical and mental state. Yeah. And they have a little test in here, so you can take a little test to find out what your score is about where you fall on the scale of the aesthetic scale and so forth. I found it fascinating. Hello, Dorothy. Hi, Rhonda. And then they tell you what your score is, how to score it and all that. But look at this page. See this? Isn't that a whole lot like the neurographic art? Yeah. Anyway, there was another one that I thought was really interesting, because when he gets real keyed up at the office and stuff, and he's got a lot of pressure and a lot of deadlines and a lot of everything, he will come home and mow the grass or brush hog. We do, Linda. Absolutely. And so that is his relief. He doesn't do necessarily creative stuff in the way that I do, but he knows he needs to come home and get on the tractor, go out and mow or whatever. And this I thought was particularly enlightening, this sentence. Several chemicals released when grass gets cut stimulate the amygdala, which is part of the brain, and the hippocampus, helping to reduce stress by lowering cortisol. Let me read that again since I screwed it up. Several chemicals released when grass gets cut stimulate the amygdala and the hippocampus, helping to reduce stress by lowering cortisol. Who knew? Who knew? Yeah. Terry says there's something zen about mowing. I know. So anyway. So then it goes even further into the various more information about the specific areas of the brain, which I've always been interested in. When you have somebody in your life that dies from dementia, I spent the first year trying to understand how dementia could kill you. Never did fully understand it. Nobody could ever totally explain it to me. But I became not quite obsessed, but close, obsessed with the concept of, how does your brain work in order to lose your connection, especially when you're someone who's been so connected in so many ways, So I was like a dog with a bone for a while about that subject. Never got much satisfaction. Finally, I just had to let it go, but that's okay too. Yeah. Physical exercise. Yeah. So put in the chat if you want to what things you use to help calm yourself down or soothe yourself. I know that there are a lot of us, and I didn't think I was one that dealt much with anxiety, but I think that there's a tendency to pull me into that anxiety frame of mind, from time to time. And I have always turned to some sort of creativity. I've been doing creative things since I was a kid. So anyway, I'm interested in what you all are drawn into for that. So anyway, what I wanted to show you was there are some actual pictures in here, and I don't know the reasons for all these pictures, but I always like it when a book includes color pictures. So I don't know the significance of these, but I will be reading about them, I'm sure. Some of them appeal to me more than others. Some are collage, some are, painting or artistic things. So you can get color, some of it's shape, repetitive shapes. This I thought was a beautiful picture. It took me, the second time that I looked at this is when I realized what this was. I don't know where it is. If any of you recognize it, you can put it in the chat. Yeah, if really stressed, clean house. I understand that one too. But this is some kind of walkway or bridge or lookout or something. But these are people up here on this. And I thought, wow, first of all, that's quite a climb to get up there. But what an interesting place that would be to visit. Any of you recognize this? And this one I thought was super interesting, which is a rendition of a cross section of the brain. But this is an artist's rendition, and I found this just super interesting. And they do go into some detail about the various parts of the brain, where I'm reading right now about the cerebellum and how the the information passes from the right half to the left half to the half of the brain and all that kind of stuff. And so they're just laying the groundwork for why creativity works. Rhonda doesn't know where it is. I don't either. Yeah, exactly. Dementia can kill you because you forget how to swallow. Yep, it's exactly right. That is exactly right. We went through that as well. Um, but anyway, I thought I would love to have this, in a big picture so I could frame it. This was an interesting one too. I'm assuming this is a piece of artwork that someone did. You could read all kinds of things into this image. Don't know the history of it yet. Don't know the purpose of it because this is further than I am in the reading part of it. But this part, I thought this would be interesting to you guys. Let me put this back where I had it. Because there are you see a lot of people, especially like in Instagram and people who show their art journals, there are a lot of people that do this grid style journaling. And so I found that really fascinating, that there is something about the connection of one part to another and, the cohesiveness and yet how things ebb and flow. But I wasn't familiar with the fact that that was kind of part of the scientific thing, that grid style art. I don't know what this is, but it's really nice. I like the reflective quality. This really appealed to me because of the trip that we did last year into Australia and New Zealand. Because of the art form that was down there. It's not the same thing as the New Zealand primitive arts, but it's similar, with the repetitive shapes and or fine, kind of that aura style of art. Hi, Mickey. And so that is, I don't know, I thought that related quite well to what I got interested in last year. And I'm not sure what this is, but that reminds me of a brain. I don't know what it is, but that's what it feels like to me. So anyway, those are the color plates that are in the book. But I love the color. I love this cover of the book. I saw one of the things that they do on cruises, I'm not quite sure why, but they have art auctions. So they'll have art galleries on the ship. I don't know where the art comes from. It's a wide variety, different styles of art. Some of it's sculptural, some of it's paintings, some of it, most of it is a 3D or a painting. They also have jewelry stores and that kind of stuff, which holds no appeal to me whatsoever. But the art is interesting, and they had some really nice sculptures. But this one painting really grabbed me, and it was a grand piano, and so it was just the grand piano, which was kind of off-centered toward the bottom. It wasn't a big painting, and then from the strings of the piano was clearly the suggestion that music was coming up out of the piano, and it was all in colors, so it was big splotches of color, and it's like, I'm so gonna have to do something with that really got my attention, and I don't know that I'll forget that spoke to me so dramatically. So anyway, I love that. Dar asked how Muppet is. She is doing well. She was at the vet for the whole time we were gone. I talked to them before I left because she has a growth on her right eyelid that was causing, it seemed like we finally had gotten to the point, it had gotten big enough that it was really upsetting, making her uncomfortable. So they called me before we got out in the ocean. They called me and said they they checked it out and they really thought they should take it off because it was rubbing on her cornea. And so I thought that's probably the best place for her to be, because they could go ahead and take it off, and then they could treat her the whole time she was there and keep an eye on her. And so that's what they did. And she looks like her eye is perfectly normal. She's no longer pawing at her eyelid and all that. And when she came home, we picked her up yesterday. They have one pickup time on Sunday afternoon, and we picked her up to bring her home. She was so happy. I mean, I don't know that I've seen her that happy. And this morning, Elton got up with her, and he gets up earlier than I do, and so he decided to go for a walk with her. Well, he's got 2 dogs that are outside dogs, and we have a menagerie of cats that are outside cats. 2 of them we've inherited from the neighbor who left them when they moved, and then 2 that belong here. So Elton's got Muppet on a leash because she can't be left off leash. You can't, if you could communicate with her now, it would be different, but you can't. She doesn't hear, and she doesn't see real well, but she doesn't hear at all. So you can't call her back to you, so she has to be on a leash. So he's walking with her, and here come the other 2 dogs. One of his dogs is very old. She's about as cripply as Muppet is in some ways. Some ways she's worse. So they all went for a walk, and the next thing he knows, he's got the 2 cats that the neighbors left, and they're all going. So he has this menagerie of animals walking down the road and back, and he had the best time, and they all had a great time. So everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. New York City waterfront, was that one of those pictures I showed? Okay. So at this point, with her eye, we still have to treat it with some ointment, antibiotic ointment or something. And so she's very happy to be home. And today she is really tired too. So today, when I was basically lying on the couch all day because I could not even move, she's happy to be on the floor right there with me. So yeah, everything's good. Everything's good. Yeah, it was really fun. And he had the best time when he got back from his walk. He just couldn't wait to tell me about he'd taken some pictures while they were walking, and he couldn't wait to tell me all about that. So that was fun. One other thing that, you know how you get inundated with a bazillion pieces of mail while you're gone? I wanted to show this book to you. Many of you may already know about this. I had no idea about it. Somebody else had told me about it. And so I subscribed. I don't think, as I recall, it didn't cost any money to subscribe to this. But anyway, I just thought I would show it to you. So it's a big catalog, okay? Magazine catalog. And it's called The Road Scholar, as in street, road. Well, the sound may be low, Dorothy, but I don't have a lot of voice, so I'm so sorry, but I don't have much voice tonight. I'm giving it all I have. Let me look and see. Let me check give me just a second. I'll check and see if I can hang on just a minute. Now, it looks like it's okay. It's honestly probably just that I'm not projecting very well because I'm still dealing with this thing in my head, so I'm sorry. Can the rest of you hear me okay? Hear me well enough that we can keep going? Because I really don't have much more voice than what I've got right now. You can let me know in the chat. It's okay. Okay. So anyway, I thought I would show this to you. Rhodes Scholar International Adventures Afloat. This is from March 2025. And what's interesting about this is you can go through, it's a pretty thick magazine, and you can go through it and look at all the different things that you could actually, trips you could take. Now, I'm not going to say that these trips are inexpensive, because I don't think they are. But they have a wide variety of trips. And they even, one of the things I thought was really interesting in, I don't know if it's in each one of the magazines, but in some of them, they have trips for grandparents and grandchildren. I thought that was pretty cool. So, but it's trips all over the world, doing all different kinds of things, all different levels of ability or disability. And I just thought I would share it with you because I didn't know if you all were familiar with this. But it's the Rhodes Scholar, R-O-A-D. And so you can start looking in here, and just for example, this goes through kind of the table of contents. So, Adventures Afloat. So these are things that are on the water, by river or cruise ships and that kind of thing. Animals and wildlife. So they give you the category and then all the different pages where they have trips that relate to that category in here. Arts, art history museums, bicycling, birding, city discoveries, food and wine, history, home and gardens, language study, living and learning, military history, multi-sport, national parks, nature and environment, on the road, outdoor adventures, photography, science and technology, go solo. So there's some places, if you were wanting to meet people, you could go by yourself. Train treks, walking and hiking, water sports, women only, Africa, Antarctica, around the world, Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific, Canada, Central America, Cuba, East and Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, Mediterranean Europe, Mexico and the Caribbean, Middle East and North Africa, Scandinavia and Finland, South America, South Asia, United Kingdom and Ireland, and Western Europe. And then over here, they give you the guide to the various activity levels. So I think that, I don't know, I just thought it was, I'm sure it's geared more to older adults, but there's a lot of interesting trips in here. Not that I've done any of them, but one of my friends has. And so here's, like, when you look at a trip here, like this, for example, is into the Arctic skies, Aurora and astronomy in Churchill. And so your activity level on your feet, this is 2 out of 4. So you can kind of see what, not all places will tell you the amount of activity that's going to be involved. So anyway, I just thought I would show you that. It has some interesting pictures and great kinds of trips and winters, different places, and countries all over the world. They also have things that are state trips that are stateside in the United States. The ones where you take grandchildren, I think, are particularly appealing. I think that's something we don't do enough of, taking multi-generational trips. But anyway, that's just my thing. Anyway, seeing the seals here. The day that we were in Ensenada, Mexico, we were on the back end of the ship, so we had a balcony that looked out over the back of the ship, and we would get up in the morning and be able to open the door and hear the ocean, but also hear the sounds of whatever was going on outside. And I was listening, and I'm like, what is that noise? It sounded like like a seal barking. And it was a seal barking. And these seals had climbed up. There was a buoy out, I don't know how far from us. So far enough I could still make out they were seals, but, you know, not close enough I could get good pictures. And but those seals would climb up on the buoy. So there must have been 3 or 4 seals. So the buoy was big enough that they could climb up, and they spent like the day there, and they barked and barked and barked. It was hysterical to listen to. Me, I thought it was really interesting to listen to. And then one of them would jump up. You know, they don't jump. I don't know how they do what they do, because they don't have arms and legs, but they got flippers, and so somehow they get up on that buoy and knock their friend off, and then they get to claim the buoy for a little bit. It was pretty funny. And then I realized that you could see fins out there, and then I realized that there were dolphins out there. There was a big pod of dolphins that were swimming out there. So apparently when the cruise ship came in and docked, it must have stirred up a bunch of the food source for the dolphin, and they were there for a long time, you know, and beautiful. They weren't jumping out of the water, but they would come up and go down. Such graceful, incredible animals. And then there were pelicans. So the pelicans were there, and they'd go down and fish and do all kinds of stuff. But the seals, they entertained us for the entire day. It was really funny. It was funny. Okay, so anyway, so if you want to take a look at that, you can look it up online. Road Scholar. Take a look at that, and you might find some trips that you're interested in. I think from what I could see, it was a wide assortment of costs, times, physical level of ability, you know, physical ability, and all kinds of things. Really, really fascinating. So, okay. Anybody have any questions for me? Because I've about expended what I have to expend for tonight. And I thought I was doing 100% last night, and then the night wasn't so kind to me last night. A day of sleep has helped. So hopefully by Friday I should be chipper and ready to do some stuff with you guys. But today was just kind of a catch-up day. So I absolutely will be. Yesterday I felt quite good, and then like I said, we've changed time zones many times. We got home at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. We slept for a while, and then the rest of the time you're going, what day is this, and what time is this, and where am I, and what am I doing? So it was a little crazy. Today was the first day back to work and back to real life, and I can't say that I was very successful with that, but anyway, thank you all for joining me, and I'm sure I will share lots of other things with you as we go through the next few weeks, and I think of things and experiences and wonderful things. We met some really interesting people. We met some great people. We had a wonderful, wonderful trip. It was a good honeymoon. Oh, Dorothy, you need to stop doing that, girlfriend. I hope you're okay. All right. I will show pictures. I will. All right. I'm going to take off. Thank you for being here, everybody. Sorry it wasn't longer, but I will be back on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. But everything is good here. We're back home. Muppet is good. Everybody's doing what they should be doing again. So we're kind of just getting settled back into life, and now I've got to get back into moving the rest of my house. and closing that up and getting that sold. But, it'll all happen. As long as I don't push it, it'll happen. All right, I will see you on Friday. Until then, remember to get creative today, because it's easy. Even I, in my compromised state, was able to be a little bit creative now and then. But remember, if you are interested in this book, I'm sure it's on Amazon. I'm sure it is. I picked it up in the airport. If you're interested in that kind of thing, check out that book. All right. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.